Hello, welcome to LCL Report. With Star Trek in the news lately, there's been a lot more talk about Star Trek, and I thought it'd be fun to make a story to talk about the philosophies behind Star Trek. So I called upon my friend Gardner Goldsmith. Gardner is well known for his podcast series over at libertyconspiracy.com, but a lot of people also forget that he used to be a writer on Star Trek Voyager. So I'd love to see what he had to say, so let's see if I can get him here. Gardner? What do you got to say here, buddy?
So that's what I found so fascinating about Star Trek Voyager when I was there, was Gene Roddenberry's leftist utopian concept that man would grow beyond the need for money, that man would no longer need this. And he didn't recognize it was a means of exchange, a medium of exchange. And he adhered to the sort of 60s leftist idea that a one world or one galaxy government was good, which it's not. It's not. It just spreads. It spreads injustice. It spreads totalitarianism. It spreads theft. That's what it is.
What
So
do you think?
that's essentially what that conversation gave me.
I'm sorry. Do you think later on, after he passed away, more themes showed up? Kind of like you had guys like the Borg who come in, who, I mean, that's direct communism. They assimilate everyone
Yeah.
into the collective. And
Yeah.
they started
And
writing in a lot more. You know, I
Right,
think.
and that was, yeah, I think you're right. But certainly he recognized the instinctive desire for people to be individuals. That horror of being brought into a collective, losing your identity.
What about, when you think of someone like the Klingon Empire, who's clearly just, they make it very clear that they are building empires. They're empire building, which kind of makes me think of the U.S. right now. But you also compare it to the Federation, which is empire building too. Maybe not so violent about doing it, but it's kind of the same message.
Well, that's the thing, and that's one of the key things for libertarians to try to do is to try to convince people to recognize that even though there are varying degrees of tyranny, where you've got the Klingon Empire taking over planets and the Romulans are very warlike, and the Federation is not supposedly very warlike because it doesn't go and violently take over planets and doesn't through military force take them over. If you're in the minority, and again, sort of analogous to the Klingons being the Soviets and the Federation being America. In the United States, they've made mistakes trying to so-called spread democracy, make the world safe for democracy, defend certain countries from this or from that, bringing about some sort of almost like United States empire in the guise that they are saving the world from tyranny, and at the same time they're going around killing people and causing resentment. There is a difference between the Klingons and the Federation, but after that major difference is recognized, people need to take another step and recognize that even though the Federation system might be a little better and a little less aggressive towards other people, the system itself is not ethically supportable. It's not moral. The United States governmental system is not ethically supportable either. To a lesser degree than the Soviet Union is terrible or was terrible and tyrannical, the United States government does have relatively more freedoms very clearly. The Federation had relatively more freedoms very clearly. It was a happier place, more productive place, I think. And I think that drawing that lesson out would be very worthwhile in the Star Trek universe. It would be fantastic to show people, hey, the Klingons were bad, but guess what? You're just holding on by the skin of your teeth and going in that direction. And it's already bad enough because people are having their cash taken from them whether they like it or not. It would be quite interesting to see. That's sort of an exploration.
Well, I was trying to think to myself, who in Star Trek represents the free market? And sadly, the best I could come up with was maybe the Ferengi. I don't know who else has a free market in Star Trek. You got any ideas?
yeah. The Ferengi definitely represent them.
Did you meet any of the other cast throughout the years?
Yeah, well, when I was at Voyager, I get to meet a few people here and there. Jerry Ryan, obviously, really nice woman.
Please, you got to meet Jerry Ryan. That's like every nerd's dream.
Yeah, I don't. Yes, so right. Yes, yeah, it was. He was a nice guy too.
I wanted to ask you one last thing about that. If you were aware or not that the board created Obama. Did you know the history behind this? Because I find it fascinating. Jerry Ryan.
What's this about?
Well, Jerry Ryan was dating her husband, who was a politician, correct?
Oh yeah, that's right. Her husband had all those problems, and
he
then
took her to
right.
He took her into a sex club,
yeah.
and she was completely turned off by the whole thing. Ended up being a huge political scandal. He dropped out, and lo and behold, guess who won the seat in that state? Obama. And so Obama, I think it was a board conspiracy. It was amazing how Star Trek has that reach. But that's pretty funny.
I forgot all about that. Oh, so funny. I'm really looking forward. I'm looking forward.
Well, I did notice that the last couple of years of Star Trek, it did get some libertarian ideas entering in it. It got a little more libertarian, and believe it or not, the last Star Trek movie made, which is called Star Trek of God and Men, very few people have seen it because it's basically online, had some very, very libertarian ideas, and I'm actually going to include some of those clips in this interview because I was actually shocked when I heard Chekov say a quote from Ben Franklin, so I think it's moved that way, but that's I'm hoping that it's going that direction. I'm curious to see how they're going to handle it in this next movie.
That interview in its entirety is about an hour long and can be found over at Gardner's site, www.libertyconspiracy.com. It's a really good interview, and Gard's got some great stories, so go over there and download it. As promised, I'm going to put the actual only libertarian clip I've seen in Star Trek, and good hunting.
I'm surprised you had the courage to meet me face to face.
Oh, if I had my way, you'd be dead already. Terrorists like you.
Terrorists! We fight for our freedom.
Freedom. What is freedom without security? Nothing. The Galactic Order provides that security.
Only through fear and violence. Anyone who trades freedom for security deserves neither.
Well, I'm not going to have a philosophical debate with an anarchist. The truth is, you're a traitor. The Curate Prime demands your head.
Let us examine the old Vulcan adage, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I propose that that maxim is the most dangerous and misguided belief that I have ever heard.
Perhaps we should postpone further discussion until our next session.
Madam Uhura, I acknowledge the fact that you and Spock led Vulcan's efforts to secede from the Galactic Order. However, to challenge one of our most time-honored precepts is highly illogical.
Who decides the needs of the many are more important than the needs of the few? And more importantly, who gave them the right to decide that in the first place?
Are you suggesting that the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many?
I'm suggesting that history proves it. It's filled with groups who've decided that their needs were more important than others. The result? Slavery. Genocide. You don't believe me? Just look at the Galactic Order.